Hey guys, I think we've all had this happen. You get dumped on with a bunch of snow, and then the snowblower stops working. So what we're going to attempt in this video is to address an issue that is common among most power equipment with a carburetor set up like this. What occasionally happens is bad fuel is left in the bowl. This is the carburetor's bowl, and it deteriorates and develops a bunch of crap inside there. And so this is how the system works. The fuel goes in from the fuel tank over here, and it's controlled. The level is controlled by a float, which I did not depict so that you can better see the diagram. It allows fuel up to a certain level. Fuel then travels from the bowl through this orifice in this bolt. It goes through this tube and this orifice and enters the throttle body. Once it enters into the throttle body, it is then mixed with the air and then heads on down into the engine. The force that is propelling this fuel into here is only suction, and the amount of fuel is metered based on the size of this orifice in here. So what you need to bear in mind is that even though you've put fresh fuel in the tank, there still can be really deteriorated old fuel in the line and in this bowl. So keep in mind, fuel doesn't last very long. I'll go into that later. The other thing to keep in mind that any amount of debris, no matter how small, can plug this orifice. And what we're going to do is shove a piece of wire through here and make sure this bolt is clean and the bowl is free of debris. And that will solve a huge percentage of your carburetor issues on your snowblower. Now, it won't be the only potential issue, but it's probably the most common one. So if you do this, replace the fuel in the tank, replace the fuel, remove the old fuel out of the bowl, and just bear in mind, if there's any rust or if there's any corrosion in this bowl, what you want to do is sand that down and clean it perfectly so that no loose material can be sucked in through here and create an obstruction that would not allow fuel to enter into the engine. Important thing to remember is that there are other things going on here, but in a couple of minutes one can remove this nut, carefully remove the bowl. As you'll see in the video, try not to disturb anything else. Simply clear this obstruction and clean the bowl, and you're in business. The thing you're going to want to do is dispose of the fuel. Take all the fuel out. Remove the cap, dump it out. Next step, you want to clean the fuel system out. So what's left of the fuel system? What's in the line itself, the fuel line that goes from the tank to the carburetor. And then the other thing is the carburetor's bowl. So what you want to do is flip it up and look over by the engine for a cylindrical thing. Grab yourself an adjustable wrench. You don't need any fancy tools for this. It's not loosey, righty, tighty. Pull that bad boy off. Now, one word of caution. When you're doing this, fuel is going to pour out of your machine. It's a very small amount. Maybe I don't know, volume-wise. You'll see. The other thing you have to be careful about, as you'll see in just a moment, is not losing the gasket There, now I don't know if you can see that. I'm starting to lose the light, but there's gook in there. It's not very clean fuel, but overall the bowl is fairly clean. So it's a tiny amount, but you want to dispose of that correctly. The next step is to be very, very careful. This little thing here is called the float. And that device is what controls fuel going in and out. There's going to be a little pin that's loosely fit right there that holds the float on. Make sure not to disturb that. You want to keep it in a stable position, and you don't want that thing falling out on you. It can be a pain in the neck. In this case, this one looks to be spring-loaded, which seems to be unusual to me. So you're going to want to blow this bolt off, clean as much. If you see any debris on there, you want to clean it off. That's the bolt that holds the bowl on. The next step is to get yourself a little piece of wire. The wire is meant to clean out the jet. That's the pathway that the fuel takes into the engine. You just take a 030 wire, is probably big enough. This is just welding wire. I happen to have it laying around. So if you can't find this, I'm sure there's some kind of wire similar to this at the hardware store. And in a pinch, if you have a wire brush, you can take a wire brush and a piece of needle nose pliers, and yank one of the wires out of the wire brush. So then you just find the center. Right here. That's where the bolt came out of. And inside there's going to be the jet. You don't have to take it out. Some people will say take it out. I say no. Just get a piece of wire that's approximately the right size and find the center and push it all the way in. That's about how far in. And let me turn the light on for you guys. So what you're going to want to do again is stick this wire in there. Make sure the obstructions are out of there. Many times what will happen is you'll get schmutz in there from the bowl because the fuel has gone bad. So you're just going to poke around in there until you find, there, it's clean. The other thing you want to watch out for is there is a gasket right here. Sometimes it'll stick to the bowl. Sometimes it will stick to the carburetor itself. So it's right there. Then, after you've done that, you've just cleaned out the jet. You want to inspect carefully. Make sure that this guy is clean. Again, dispose of your fuel appropriately that's in the bowl. Make sure to inspect it that there isn't any debris in there. If there's debris, it will get sucked in, and I can see there's a little speck in there. Probably doesn't show up on camera. If you've got compressed air, it's a good idea to blow everything out. So then you just replace your bowl. It's a little bit of snow on there. Could be a problem. See? Have to be careful of that too. See, there's a tiny little bit of snow in there. There. Got it out of there. Clean the bowl off. Set that guy on there. There. That's hand tight. Just snug is all you need. So that's all there is to that. Now the next step is to put some fresh fuel in it. Now a word on fresh fuel. You see, gasoline has changed quite a bit over the years. Its formulation has changed quite a bit. It's mandatory for many years now that ethanol has been in the fuel. And ethanol absorbs moisture out of the air. When it does that, it creates a new compound. It eats carburetor bowls, it destroys fuel systems, and ethanol in general just is not good for power equipment. It works fine in computerized modern cars. But when you get... So the solution to that is to honestly, don't keep your fuel any longer than 3 weeks. Buy enough to use at that time, use it all, and run it dry. After you've done all that stuff, you've done it correctly, and there aren't any underlying issues, start as usual. Give it a prime.